Hello and welcome. Here we are again, Marian and Corinna Duo at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. And what are we going to talk about today? What
Hmm.
we came up yesterday when we had our weekly meeting, pre Facebook Live meeting, um, we noticed we had been talking a lot about being space, but never really talking about what the heck does that mean? And so we want to rectify that today. And today it's Marianne's turn to take off.
Oh, thank you, Karina. I can take off. Let's go. It is, Karina. Yesterday it was clear we were speaking about space, and for me, it is something I notice really in the environment in general. That is the energy I perceive as space that so many people are, yeah, longing and what they call as, oh, give me a break, give me a rest, give me, yeah, some whatever, not specifically calling it space. And when I tapped into the energy of what they are asking for, it took me also immediately to the breath. It's like, do people still breathe? Yes, they breathe because they are alive. But what do I mean with breathing is also when you stop for a second. And even this
Yeah.
going, it opens up so much more for yourself, for your body. And is that true for many people? That's the question. As what I can perceive is even this going with that is not creating so much more for so many people because it's, how would I say it looks like they locked everything into the head, and even the head is not complete anymore. It's more like only the brain, the upper side of the head. So noticing also having conversations with people, I can perceive their bodies relaxing. Not even the person itself is aware of that. But on the other side, they say, yes, but I love to have a conversation with you. I love to be around you. I love this. And is that something, yeah, that is like the space we be? It's not a doing, it is a being. So, yeah, how do you perceive space or be space, or what is it for you?
Before I go into that, I actually want to stick with an image that you evoked. And
Mm,
when you talked about breath, and when we really breathe in and really breathe out, how much are we changing the space that our lungs have? And how much, if people pay attention to how much is even the breathing really shallow, that there is not much space change even in the lungs. And
exactly.
how much can we, and then uh, if the lungs change space, there is a space change in our rib cage. And how much, to get back to your question, is it that we look at from this top half At,
Yeah.
okay, I'm my body. My body has a certain space. How can I be more space? And we're not talking about physically being more space, you know. What we're talking about is energetically being space. And from that place, how little space are people so often because they are contracted. And especially right now, with all the fear contraction that is happening due to COVID 19.
Yeah.
So, what can change if we even just choose a little bit expansion energetically to become slightly bigger? And I remember so well when I came across that whole notion of being space. Well, I was living in Abiquiu and I could just look out over the landscape. And what I imagined, and that sort of stayed with me, is to just flow out with the water, with the landscape, into the landscape. Not be confined anymore, but just being part of the landscape. And so for me right now, even when I just talk about or think about becoming space, it's that flowing out, that increasing of space, being with the earth, that is happening for me.
Mm. Yeah. And I love that you brought in that flowing out and become, as you mentioned there, it's like nearly becoming the water, the landscape, the earth. It is more communion also. And it looks like when we talk here about like something, oh yeah, but that's nothing for me, and that's spacey, as in flying around, and you are not grounded. Well, for me, space is the opposite. The more I allow myself to relax, and it's not relaxing the muscles as after being doing an intense thing
Workout.
in sports or whatever or workout. Yes, it's more, yeah, relaxing into open up the space between the molecules somehow. It is. And yeah, it's that relaxing. And the more I allow myself to relaxing, that's where I notice that I'm more present. And
Yeah.
I call that my grounding. Being present, that is grounding. It's nothing heavy or pushy or forced on to me. It is grounding is really not being only in the deck of my head, in the upper top of my head. It's really being present with everything. And then it goes from bottom up to the top and sidewards.
Yeah.
And that's different. That's different.
And it's even different. I mean, you hear in spirituality so often people talking, oh, I need to ground myself. Uh, in all honesty, for me, that has way more question marks attached in the sense of what the heck are you talking about than being space.
Yeah, but that was for me a revelation, Karina,
Yeah.
because I heard so many times all my life, you
Yeah.
are not grounded. You are not grounded, especially when I started my journey in the spirituality. It was all about not being grounded. And I couldn't get it because
Yeah.
for me, it didn't make sense as I noticed myself really grounded. But now I know that it was that I was so much space that they couldn't catch the vertical,
Wow, yes.
that they
Wow.
couldn't catch my what they called as grounded is the vertical way, as in a tube, in a line,
Yeah,
aligned, and it wasn't.
yeah,
And there I catched later on as, oh, therefore it didn't make sense, because when I forced myself into grounding in the way they asked me to be, as it was meant to be, what is grounding, there I noticed that I disbalanced myself, that I came out of whatever it was, because I was not really aware and knowing that I was grounded by being the space. So, what's in a name often?
but if you really look at it, if you are just, let's say, your body,
Yeah,
how much ground space do you occupy?
exactly.
And if you are
Exactly.
space, how much ground space do you occupy?
Exactly. And going now with that top of the head, not even the body is grounded, only using that top of your head.
Yeah,
How little grounded is that? And it looks like you are really here because you are
yeah,
intense and you are busy, and I'm here, I'm grounded, I know what I am doing. Is that true? Is that true?
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, I remember people talking about that there is a trap door here for people that are very headspace and don't have much connection, not only to their body, but also not much connection to emotions and feelings and all
Yes.
those
Yes.
things. Um, and also energetically, not much ability to perceive.
Hmm.
So, and you know, we all have different ways of imagining. And what if there is not a right way or a wrong way? What if there is a way that works for you and creates the effect that you would like to have? Like, you know, you don't have to imagine flowing out like what I did, but
Hmm.
it created the space. I had that creek, big creek, running parallel to where I was sitting. And so I was basically going up and downstream as I was imagining being space. But that worked for me because it was in that moment in time when I got exposed to that concept. Oh, that makes sense. Okay. Um, what if having to go up into space and down into the earth is working for you to be space? You know?
And the beauty of, because you mentioned here visualization and imagination, but
Mhm.
we don't require it, because even our bodies are so aware. And how much more ease is there with awareness when you are space, as though when you live in the top of your head, but your body is still with you. So your body is still aware. Your body is still giving all the information of is awareness. And then you try to put everything in the top of your head. Oh, headaches. I don't know what I did wrong for having so many headaches. Oh, no, 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 no. Not spacey, not being space, not giving it a space, literally. Keep everything there. So often people don't get the intensity they go through with their bodies, because they not allow themselves not even look lower than, yeah, the eyesight.
Or
It
the
is.
tip of the nose.
And the awareness of our bodies, we can't shut them down. We intensify them. We pull everything together. But is that shutting down our bodies? Yes, we can go on and go on until it says, done now.
Yeah.
So what is it that we are choosing ourselves with the intensity we put on our bodies, in our bodies, on our bodies?
And just before we started the Facebook Live, I was on another call. And what really struck me was the conversation of, if I have judgment, for instance, how much space do I have? Or am I in a really small box that is defined by the judgment? So, how much are we choosing a space, big, small, by choosing the space we decide to be in, by being in judgment, by being contracted, by being in fear, to just stay
And,
with what's going on right now?
and to go with this, Karina, could it be that when you are always 24 on 7 days, choose that little box as your space, then it can be when it becomes more space that it has a sense of strange.
Mm-hmm.
I don't notice what's wrong with it.
Yeah.
And because of that judgment again, that it is wrong, let us shut down, because this is the thing I know. Even it doesn't work, even it makes me sick, even it makes me depressed or whatever
Yeah.
it does, preferring to go on with that little box instead of breathing, breathing in, breathing out. Because how much breaths, true breaths, are there possible to have in a small box? Oxygen is.
And, to play off what you just said, is how much have we learned that if something is uncomfortable, we're going the wrong way. We need to go back to from where we came.
Yes,
And so
yes,
it's we're back to what we also have been talking about. We're back to autopilot. Automatically, we turn around and we go back. This is the box that I know. I feel comfortable in. Oh, a nice small box. You encompass me and keep me safe.
yes, that's the belief we have.
Yeah.
And what is safe? What is safe? What is it? You know, that uncomfortable years ago when I had my practice, often I give that image to people and I said, when you have a cord and you turn it and twist it and you lay it down in a corner or whatever, and it stays there winter, summer, springs, year after year after year. It is more like a fossil. It starts to become more a fossil.
Yeah.
And then as a sudden, there is a light in you and you say, oh, I have that cord there in the corner and I want to get it. And then you try to unroll it. It will not be easy. And it has the sense to go back in from where it came.
Or it breaks.
And it is, eh, and is that what happens when we start to give ourselves space? That there it is required somehow to be in allowance, even when it looks like we are turning back, or it looks like we are cramping again. Is that really true? Or is that part of the start of the journey? And the more you are in allowance and the more you let it go and you let it go and you let it go, the more ease starts up.
Or is it part of the unwinding?
That the unwind, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And as you mentioned, it is immediately made wrong. And before I had many people saying, yes, but I suffered so much, so much. And now I'm suffering again in a different way, but I'm suffering again. Not even asking, is this true? Is this suffering or is this the unwinding?
And even how many associations have we put on to what suffering means?
Also,
And are we
also.
suffering in the same way as before? Or have we become so accustomed to the suffering that we don't recognize it? And when we change it, when we unwind, we
Exactly.
go into suffering because that is an unfamiliar uh, place or space.
Exactly. 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 Yes, that's it. Hmm. As for myself, I allowed myself a lot, and I was judged for it as people judge those moments as, how would I say, as like really drawing in and suffocate in the intensity
Mm-hmm.
as a wrong thing. While for me, it was something that worked as withdrawing myself, emerging, and going with everything that is going around, not because of, how would I say, it's more, I require to be present with all those different energies in here so I can become clear what it is about.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes time. It could be sometimes one day, and sometimes it was 3 4 days. And when my husband died, for example, it took a longer time. But it was not from the idea as letting go in giving up and making it so wrong as there is nothing else possible. It was from the other way around. It was when I have, it is more like when you have a cave and you never go into the cave. Are you truly sure what is in the cave? You can have an idea, but are you truly sure what is in there? You're required to go into the cave, put on the light, open the boxes, and get it out. And that's more the way I go still sometimes with things to become more clear, put
Mm-hmm.
light on it. And it's not in the darkness.
Or do
Hmm.
we continue to believe into the monsters that are living in the case we are told about?
Oh yeah, you can. If that works, you can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a choice that we make.
exactly. And I know it is something that works for me, but so in a way I become more silent and really present with myself with those. Other people have a lot more ease when they start to talk and talk and talk and they talk them through everything.
Mm-hmm.
When it works, it works. It doesn't matter. how it is about what are we truly choosing? Is it choosing something that works, that allows us to open up the space, to become more clear, to be present with everything? Or do we choose something to run away of it, to lock it up
Yeah.
in this? Yeah. So, and we are all different, Karina. We go different with everything, with everything.
It's individual,
It is.
so it's really, and what am I allowing in? What am I allowing myself to receive if I'm not space? And not that there is, you are allowing yourself this or that if you are space and you don't if you are not. I'm looking more from a perspective of how much can I allow in if I choose to be a small box or if I choose to be a huge box. There is so much more space for stuff to fit in.
It is.
And are we willing to really be cognizant of that and choose to expand so we can know more?
Something that brings this up, this energy you presented here, is it's visual. How noticing when someone isn't truly choosing to be space with whatever is when you hear them speak like this and they go on and on and on and on and they go and go and go and go and go. It is like this, as when they even telling the same, they can sit and talk and speak and go through. It is already completely different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Completely different. It's not about what you say, or you are not allowed to talk to through things. It's not about that. It is what we are being in that moment with it.
Yeah.
So, is it an idea? Is something that pops now?
Mm-hmm.
What
What?
if we be just for a minute, 2 minutes space, as how you experience it, or you go with it, how I'm going with it, and shut up for 1 minute
That's,
and being
I mean, I
being
have
the
to laugh
space.
because for you and for me, that is ease. And I get how difficult it can be for someone who is not used to it.
Hmm.
I mean, what just popped for me is when I sit and be quiet in a contemplative way, how much am I roaming and exploring here and then exploring there? And oh, this looks interesting. Let's.
I
and
love to do that.
and how much is that more like being kids who would like to know what's around the bend, whatever that bend is. And we have let go because now we are adults. We have obligations. We have jobs. We have this, that, and the other. We cannot play like kids. Yet, how life affirming is that kid? And what if we feed that little kid in us?
Exactly. And do you know what I catched while you were speaking? It was like how often is it called like being in the thoughts and thinking. Is that true? Because from the child's exploration, how much has a child also a kind of conversation as in the exploration that lets to go and have a look there and have a look there and go here. So thoughts, what are thoughts? When become thoughts the small, limited way
Yeah.
of being? And where do you give also the space to all those thoughts,
Yeah.
letting them flow and create and generate?
Letting them free flow,
Yes, yes,
not putting them
yes.
in a box and exploring the four corners of the box.
And quite, I think I'm quite sure that everyone experience these flowing thoughts
Mhm.
as having an idea and then sitting with that and your thoughts flowing and having conversations even with yourself or imaginally with all those other peoples you want to talk to. But isn't that the creation time
Yeah.
where those type of thoughts are required to move it also? How much move those thoughts, which are not the limited thoughts, which are not the thoughts we grab and we hold on to as it is, like, yeah, like you think it is. It's another way of being with that also, as
And
thoughts as a creative thing.
how much are those thoughts breathing life into something?
Exact, exactly.
So,
Exactly, that creation energy of those thoughts. Yes,
and how much can thoughts strangle something to death?
absolutely.
When we go into, oh, this can't be, and doubt, and all those things, this is right, this is wrong, it takes the life out of it.
Yeah, yeah, completely. And the one which is called fantasy is fantasy, all those thoughts flowing, and is it truly fantasy? So, yeah, how many definitions are they are
Mhm.
there and put on our behaviors, even from thoughts made wrong, being wrong.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it brings me back to a post that I did this morning on Facebook that um, I cannot perceive my greatness, no matter
Mm.
what. But if I have imagination, I can at least go to some extent into the greatness. If I have no imagination, then I cannot even possibly consider that I am greater than what I have defined myself to be. And yes, even with imagination, I will not get to the greatness that I actually am, but at least I'm starting the journey towards it. And every time I expand it, I have a little bit a bigger box from which to step out into another bigger box, into another bigger box, and there is no end point to the greatness that we can be, that we are. But we can start with allowing our imagination to approximate, to go on
Yeah.
the journey towards it.
And building on this, Karina, what I saw is also this imagination. How much is that activation of our true sense, our true being, our
Mm.
identity? And then because we judge imagination, with our thoughts, we shut up immediately the activation. We
shut it down. Yeah.
shut it down, and then nothing is changing.
Yeah.
We are so cute. We are so cute to
Oh,
shut ourselves down.
yeah. Where would you get if we would truly be who we are? And
An interesting, yeah, go.
really would like to invite listeners, be it now, be it later, to be with that idea of what kind of a world would we have if we allowed the greatness that we are to come forth.
Yes, and what I wanted to say is similar as from another angle
Mhm.
is this what is happening now in the world with the insanity is put out in a way that you can't deny that it is
I mean, so
insane.
obvious.
It is too obvious. And then it is, as you mentioned, yeah, but is this truly the world I want to live in? What
Mhm.
if? And imagine as much as you want, go into the fantasy and whatever. What if that is activating everything you know, everything you be?
Yeah.
And then let it flow and see what shows up. And that's another way with being space, is giving space to all those fantasies, thoughts, whatever you want to call them.
Something just hit me. How would I dare to allow space for all those fantasies and ideas and thoughts if I'm bad?
Yes. Bad girl. You are the only bad girl on
I'm
the world.
trained to that we can't trust ourselves because we're bad. We're wrong.
Yes, yes. And it is something that even kids aren't allowed any longer to
Yeah.
have fantasy, to play, to go and fantasize, not even asking for showing up some of their fantasies. They are not allowed. So it is from the start, we are put it in a small box, and then we believe that that is how it is played in life.
Yeah.
Time to change. Time to change this.
I would say so, yes.
Mm,
And the thing is, what contribution can the two of us be to changing that? By being willing to be space, by being willing to talk about it.
exactly. This is, and that's for everyone.
Mhm.
When you are willing to be something, to choose something different, to explore something different, how much is that opening up for others? And it's not upon us to decide who will take out something of this, who will receive
Yeah.
something or all of it. That's not about what if it is only our choice with what we for ourselves are choosing, willing to be, to explore, to contribute, to share, whatever it is, without any expectation,
Yeah.
projection.
And without any
Wow.
judgment if people do not choose what we are exploring.
Yes. And noticing, so saying this, how even more the space is opening up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Let me see what we will bring on next week.
Absolutely. Curious
or
on how the
fantasy.
holding, because that is usually the basis of.
Yes, and curious what fantasy will show up that we can speak about.
Yeah,
Oh, so
absolutely.
thank you, Karina. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Marianne, and
And a very Merry Christmas.
yes, very,
It's
very
coming up.
good. Or whatever kind of holiday you celebrate.
Exactly. Yes,
You
for
know,
me it's
for the
Christmas
two of
because,
us,
yeah,
for the two of us where we come from, it is Christmas, but
whatever.
it's meaningless in the sense of whatever you celebrate at this time of year. So
Exactly. Because when every day is a Christmas day, every day is new day to be born, to be light, to shine, whatever. What if we choose that?
that is a good question. You know, that could be a totally different world.
Could be.
Yeah. What if
What do
instead of
you
one
know?
day we pay homage to certain ideas and then we
Mhm.
forget them for the rest of the 364 days?
And that is creating also.
Yep, it is. This is what I like.
Okay.
Take care.
See you, Karina,
See you.
and all.
Bye.